All right, welcome back for another episode of the Fantasy Engineers. We're gonna do a quick news and notes episode since we haven't been able to update y'all on some the news that's going on around the league. This will primarily be with COVID, injuries, holdouts, people we haven't seen yet, uh, some news that outside of basketball that could affect basketball. So we'll go ahead and get in. Tune's here with me. What's up? How's it going, Tune?
Nothing much. You almost forgot about me, but it's cool.
Man, I didn't forget about you.
I'll
You
forgive
know
you.
I never forget about you. No, no. I'm always glad to have Tune here with me. This podcast wouldn't be happening without him. So, as you all know, Tune has been in the professional basketball realm. He has experienced actual injuries, so like he has a first-hand knowledge of pro athletes and how their bodies handle injury because his professional self handled injuries. Is that right?
yeah. Thanks for just putting my business out there. But yeah. I tore my Achilles. I was playing college basketball, tore my Achilles, and now I'm a fantasy engineer, so worked out great.
Yeah, I mean, just a slight variation between professional basketball player and
Fantasy.
professional podcaster. Professional? Is this professional?
Yeah,
I think we still call this amateur,
recreational,
right?
amateur, however you want to call it.
Pitiful. No, we're getting there. We're having a lot of fun doing this.
That's
So,
all that matters.
personally, I'm so sorry that you didn't have the chance to go on. I've tried to get you to go and try out for the G League, which, if you're listening in here, Toon still has a chance. Y'all need to encourage him to go out and try out for the G League. Pelicans held a tryout near us not too long ago,
Ah
and he
man,
didn't go.
I have a gut now. I can't get up down the court.
Oh
There's
my
just no shot I can do that.
God. How tall are you now?
I'm shrinking, man. I'm like 6'6".
Shit. That's what I'm talking about. These guys don't know. You actually have a chance. 6'6". I'm over here sitting in my chair. I say I'm 5'10", but that's only with shoes on.
Okay, I will
So
say, okay, he might be 5'10". Don't let his figure or anything lie to you. When he gets on the court, that man can ball. He can
oh,
ball.
okay. I can ball for the rec league kids down the street. But no, so yeah. Wait, Toon has a little bit of experience dealing with this. I'm just messing with him, but yeah, out of the two of us, he was the one who had a chance to be featured on this podcast instead of giving this podcast. But so we'll go ahead get into the news and notes. We'll start off with some of the same things that have been going on. Two guys we haven't seen all season. Ben Simmons is still out. He has told the team he's not mentally prepared to play. This the Sixers have approached him. He doesn't want to work with the Sixers. He's reached out only to the Players Association. It does not sound to me, if I had to guess, he's not playing for the Sixers anymore. They've tried to kind of put out some stuff. You have players make announcements at games, put out PR that if he comes back, you have to be nice to him. Is pretty much what they're saying.
That's
But
not gonna happen. Let's just be real.
it's not going to happen. I mean, Philly fans are already
Scientific.
notorious for being crazy. You put beers in all their hands and then tell them to take this guy back with open arms. I don't see it happening. And so you can kind of tell that, like, if he was not willing to play before, he certainly doesn't want to have to try to step on the court and play through all that noise, which is going to be awful. Wherever he goes, whenever he comes back to Philly, it's going to be something else
Every
too.
game is gonna be a away game for him. So
Oh, so I think if you have him, if you're targeting him, if you're stashing him, you're still you're crossing your fingers for that trade. I don't think Philly's happening. What about you? Do you think Philly's happening for him?
I think it's done. I think it's done. Um,
Think
I
so?
it's just not. I think the situation's broken. I think when the team backstabbed him, I just think that's at that point there was no shot he was going to come back. Even when he came back temporarily to say like he's working on mental health, I figured it was just apply. I don't want to knock mental health or anything, but just for him to start getting paid again. Then again, he is probably struggling with some things, but I just don't see him coming back until a trade happens. So unfortunately, he's locked up in a contract for 3 4 years. So I don't know how that's gonna work out. I don't know what team's gonna want him. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, he's expensive, but we'll see. But I'd be a little nervous hanging on to him. I haven't heard any concrete plans yet, so I wouldn't say a trade is close. So be prepared to hang on to him for quite a few more weeks if you've got him. The other guy who we haven't seen yet, Zion Williamson, still out for a couple weeks. He doesn't seem to be. I mean, they said he's making great progress, but when a team says you're making great progress and you're still out for multiple weeks at a time, it makes me worried. Not one because of his injury may be more severe than we thought, his recovery may be further behind than we thought, but they also may be playing him safer than we hoped this season. He was a clear-cut second-round pick, uh,
Hmm.
and so he was a guy that we kind of was hoping that he'd come out this year and they'd use him a ton and feature him and give him the ball and let him dominate. And maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're making sure 100% that he's fine so they can do that when he comes back. But I'm starting to get nervous that they're going to be scared at any slight thing. Like he comes in with a sprained toe and all of a sudden he's out for another week. But, we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean the cat's already out the bag. We saw him doing drills. We also saw him meeting with RJ. He looks humongous. Like, let's just be honest. Like, he doesn't look like he's in basketball shape right now. You
Yeah,
know,
he's a little big.
I saw a joke between Charles Barkley and Shaq, and Charles Barkley had mentioned it looks like me and Shaq had a baby. So, I mean, it's a running joke right now. Like, I think he'll be fine, but honestly,
Oh,
he does not look in
man.
basketball shape. He doesn't look 2 3 weeks away from playing basketball, honestly. So, you know,
Gosh.
hopefully, that can change. That's false, and he comes back and dominates, but. He's
I'm
not looking
sorry.
great. So
That got me. If Charles Barkley's calling it your weight.
I think he should be the last person to talk about weight. But hey, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that got me good. I wish I'd heard that before the segment. Anyways, Brandon Ingram is questionable. It sounds like he has a chance for coming back. He's only missed a few games. He, you think it sounds like he's going to come back. I'm not too worried there on the forefront, especially with the Pelicans not having any help. They're struggling, but they need him back, so it doesn't feel like he'll be sticking out too long.
Yeah, running.
Kyle Lowry, though, he left with an injury. He's not someone who I was worried about, but he's had a number of injuries that have seemed to linger longer than most other players.
Yeah.
What do you make his most recent injury, his ankle injury?
Honestly, I don't see it as too much. Mainly for the fact that the Celtics were already beating them pretty badly. It might have been the Heat playing it safe and taking them out. Then again, it is Kyle Lowry, so a slight touch of the pinky toe can take him out for a year. So
Yeah,
um, definitely something to keep your eye out on. Then again, the Heat were losing badly, so who knows? They could just be temporarily. Maybe he can come back. We'll find out more in the future once the doctors get to him and everything. So.
I'm gonna let you handle this next guy, by the way, since you just traded for him.
Yeah, yeah. So Jaylen Brown, same game. Jaylen Brown hamstring went out third quarter. 29 minutes, third quarter. We're up by 15 when he went out. So there's a good chance it's a similar situation. Maybe the Celtics were playing it safe, taking him out. Um, the report said that he avoided major injuries. What really concerned me, I was wondering, like, what major injury are y'all talking about? If he was able to, walk off the court by himself, like, what major injury were y'all talking about? The play looked, pretty straightforward. Didn't look nothing crazy. So, something definitely look forward going forward.
Yeah, and uh, I don't know how they came up so quickly. That report was very quick, which kind of makes me a little nervous that how true is it? Maybe they just put that out there. Either way, the problem with everybody's concern with this issue is that hamstrings can notoriously take long time to recover, even if they seem very slight. They can just linger. It's a big problem with football players. Anytime you hear someone with a hamstring, it's like, oh, be ready for 2 weeks without. Basketball's a little different, and he may just need some time. But hamstrings can be tricky, so you want to make sure he's right before he gets on the court. I'd expect at least a game, maybe a couple games, maybe sit him out to the weekend, but hopefully he comes back fine. LeBron is just this it was a lower abdominal. Is that what they called it?
Laura abdominal strain.
Okay, so he's out for a week. He doesn't. He said
At
he's not
least
feeling that bad.
at least
Yeah,
a
at
week.
least. And this kind of seems to show this new Lakers mentality with these older stars. When you get injured, they're gonna make sure you're good, so you could be out for a little bit longer. So LeBron's gonna be out for at least a week. It's a little tough on fantasy managers. Now you're wondering how they're handling everything going forward. It seems like he's probably fine, but this is how they're going to do things. So, a little nervous on that front.
I will say the biggest thing that scared me about that was the report came out the day of, so it wasn't a lingering thing or that we knew of. It might have been
Hmm.
something he's been struggling with, but it came out the day of his game and announced he's out for a week. So I wonder if it's something that happened at practice or is just something that's lingering.
Yeah, you don't know. And it was kind of immediate. Hey, he's injured. Hey, he's out for a week.
Hmm.
So, it makes you a little concerned about that. We'll see. D'Lo is out. he wasn't playing fantastic beforehand,
Hmm.
but still, he's a fantasy relevant player. He's good enough to be rostered. He's gonna be out for a few games. Does this concern you at all?
Again, he wasn't playing great. Concerned if I was a fantasy owner, I'll definitely be concerned because he's one of those players you don't want to drop. It's still early in the season. You don't want to drop him. Hopefully, it won't be out. It won't be too much of a uh, out time, but it's definitely something to keep your eye on.
Middleton, Tobias, Markkinen, Jakob Poeltl, all are out for COVID right now. We knew this was going to happen. There's still be players who get it. It depends on their vaccination status as to how long they're out. And it's a contact sport. These guys are, in very close proximity for the entire game, so this is going to spread a little bit.
Hmm.
So hopefully these guys are fine. Hopefully they recover quickly.
I would say
Hope,
the Sixers caught a break. Luckily, so Tony Bradley, another Sixer, just got COVID. I believe late last night, this morning. So they said they were
hmm
going to have to test the whole Sixers team, potentially, cancel the game today. Tonight if they more people would have tested positive. But luckily, I guess since they played, everyone must have tested negative. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Seems COVID's still lingering out there, starting to take a lot
Yeah,
of people out. So
yeah, it's still making its way around. So I mean, we're not quite out of the woods yet, but this is hopefully one of those things. Especially if you have one of those players that is unvaccinated. This is one of those things you kind of have to keep an eye on, make sure it doesn't turn into anything. Donovan Mitchell's the next one. He's out currently. He's just missed his first game, and they don't think they're not acting like it's a big deal. It kind of seems like it's just a maintenance, make sure that everything's good. He looks fine. He's walking around fine on the bench, so I don't think he'll be out for too long. And then the last one, LaMelo is probable. The only reason I'm bringing this up because he's been so fantasy relevant this season. He's been so great. I think they said it's a hip contusion, something like that, something small. They put him as probable in the first report, so he's never even been questionable. It sounds like they just are taking it cautious with their superstar, giving the opportunity to bench him if they wanted to, but they're not going to. So he sounds like this is not going to be something you have to worry about for the rest of the season. And then some guys that are close. Dylan Brooks is almost back. He played pretty well last season. The Grizzlies have more pieces contributing this year,
mm-hmm.
not guaranteeing he'll come back as a stud. And their coach loves to pass the minutes around. So I wouldn't be too surprised if he doesn't get his full workload at least for a while. But he is an important part of the Grizzlies offense that's playing pretty well. But John Morant's playing incredibly well too. So we'll see. And then James Wiseman is about to come back for the Warriors team, and so they've got reinforcements coming. Klay Thompson's going to come back around Christmas. Wiseman's going to come back soon. Do you see fantasy relevance for Wiseman on a Warriors team
I love
that's playing this well?
I love Wiseman. I think Wiseman. I mean, they really don't have a big man. Kevon Looney. I mean, he's a filler. He's a filler there. I think Wiseman comes and he takes over. The biggest thing with him is last year he shot a lot of jump shots. So if he comes in, I think he can easily be a 15 and 10 guy a night. That's easily rosterable in most leagues. So I expect a lot of Wiseman second year. Making a jump. We'll have to wait and see.
This will be the first time we've seen him with Klay Thompson on the court, so all that will be interesting. And there's always a chance they think about trading him. He's been rumored around with some of the other young guys if they want to make a serious push for a star. Like he's the most obvious piece. He's got superstar written all over him. So we'll see. I like him. If I have a chance, I may try to take a look at him. But we'll see. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Some non-injury related news. I want to talk about Kyrie Irving only because there has been rumors now that the new mayor who's been elected for New York City has potentially hinted at easing the restrictions that have kept Kyrie from playing. Those would not happen until he's in office in January. So, I mean, you still got a couple months with Kyrie out. But there's a possibility that Kyrie Irving gets to come back and play for the Nets this season. There's also a chance, though, that the Nets are still fielding calls for trades for Kyrie. Who knows if they'll do it? It seems like a crazy situation. But this would be something to keep an eye on. If you have the ability to stash Kyrie for 2 months, it may be worth it. But at the same time, I don't know how much you can depend on him for the rest of the season. He sits out a lot of games. injury and personal related. So maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. We'll see. I wouldn't get too excited. I wouldn't be stashing him as if he was a first round candidate, but he's someone who I think will help your team. And then the last one, because this one's just funny to say, this is actually kind of breaking news that happened while we're sitting here talking. I just want to talk about how Trae Young said that the regular season is boring. He said they need some motivation to help them play before, like they played in the playoffs after they lost tonight. So,
Makes the playoffs one time and comes out and says that.
and even still, like in a season where he should not have made it as far as they did, they got some great wins, and all of a sudden they can't find motivation to play.
They act like they're the
You would hope
Lakers or
this would.
somebody, like the
Oh my
favorites.
gosh, I
That's
know.
hilarious.
Surely this won't result in any kind of roster shakeup for them. They're playing well. Trae Young is playing good, not quite as great. Like obviously, as he said, not as great as he was playing in the playoffs, but we'll see. But that should wrap it up for our news and notes. Anything else that you think I missed?
Got it all covered.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully these news and notes helps your team, helps you make some decisions for the future. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Insiders podcast.